Hi, this is a reminder that Duckfest is happening on August 31st, 2019 in Portland, Oregon. A full day of Duckfeed and guests doing podcasts. Go to Duckfeed.tv/Duckfest, buy a ticket, come on out. We would love to see you there. We're going to be at a cool place too, the Clinton Street Theater. Once again, Duckfeed.tv/Duckfest, and thank you.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to the Watch Out for Fireballs Dispatch episode for July.
Yes, where we answer your questions and prompts, talk about a long-form topic, and then read your responses to July's games. And stick around toward the end because we're going to reveal what we're playing in September. Like the song. All of the songs. Yeah, lots of them.
From Earth, Wind, and Fire to Green Day.
To Big Star. Yes.
To Big Star. Oh, yeah. September Girls. Yeah.
So, September Girls. No. I just fade into a cloud of smoke.
All of our culture's greatest poet laureates.
Yeah.
What about the poet laureate? Like as like a rope? You know?
I thought it was like our best poet named Lawrence.
No. The poet laureate.
Yeah.
Yeehaw! You know, and you just like capture a fucking...
Go out and wrangle us some Whitmans.
Yeah, exactly. I've been gathering these leaves of grass. and ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Poet laureate. There's something there. Joke it. Let's get started here.
Yeah.
I'll start us out here with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Paul says, I have recently cheesed the Demon of Hatred in Sekiro. Good. It felt good to beat that piece of shit by any means. It felt very good. Which cheat or cheese that you've done in a game has given you the most satisfaction? And then he also says he liked the Tetris episode. Thank you. Nice.
Yeah, keeping it in the Souls arena, me not realizing there was another part of Blighttown for so long was probably my favorite. You could consider that cheesing that area, what I did.
Yeah, just like skipping it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say one that is extremely commonly accepted, and also in Souls, just because we only talk about a couple games we mentioned.
Right.
But everyone does the reset for a Bed of Chaos. You know, you get one of the nodes, and then you turn off the game and it respawns you at the beginning rather than having to walk out past the pits and the arms.
Yeah.
You know, it's not exactly a cheese, but it is kind of a little bit of a cheese, and I will take that. 9 times out of 10. You know,
I have never fought Ceaseless Discharge on his own terms.
Oh, yep, same.
Yeah,
same. Yep, and that's definitely like a little bit of a cheese method.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's definitely some things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing a cheese. My first playthrough or my second playthrough of Demon Souls. There's a place you can get a Flame Lurker where he can't hit you.
Oh, around those like the big logs or the ribcage or something like that.
Yeah. And you can just kind of stand back and hurl spells at him.
And remember when Flame Lurker was hard?
Was the hardest boss in the fucking series.
Yeah.
For a long time. And Man-Eaters. And now, quaint.
Yeah.
Time keeps... What would you do with the sing you a song? So mostly those are the games that I cheese, and then I will do. I can't think of a specific example, but I have certainly done. I guess like another cheat, getting past the sewers and Bloodlines.
Oh yeah,
like I throw on no clip and just beeline for the end of it.
Yeah,
for the cutscene.
Again, more torsos.
Yeah. The torsos. I want some torsos.
Generally, cheeses involve more work than actually addressing the thing. You're just trying to get past something onerous. Any number of cheeses that I've done in RPGs that have shortcutted that have reversed the work prospect, either with exploitable farming spots, things like that. Just like I just need enough resources to get past this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are, I'm sure there are more that I'm not thinking about, like AI loops and stuff, but those are the ones that stand out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 2 1/4 questions. A couple months ago, Jake asked what the best version of Hitman to buy is. Probably PC, if your PC can run it, although it works just fine on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, not least of which, because you're going to want to get all those little upgrades and whatever, and those go on sale a lot more frequently on PC.
Yes.
You can do the what is that website? Like, is there a deal?
Yep.
Love
that site.
Yep.
It's a really good service.
Yep. So get onto that and just, I would buy it on PC if you can run it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Marcus asks, long or short form question, but how pivotal is the first game you play or remember playing to shaping your overall perspective on games? How much is also influenced by console or technology limitations, life situations, and individual mindsets, like how a young child playing a game has a fundamental different experience than a teenager?
Yeah, there's part of this question that I didn't quite understand, but I guess like I'm taking this as speak to the difference in how you might think about a game depending on when you come to it.
Yeah.
So like it is different, and we talk about this all the time. Like having unlimited time as a kid meant hunting down all the blorps, and Captain Blorp's fantastic blorp venture, and then like fighting both the optional weapons in Final Fantasy VII, things like that. Like it just made sense because we had unlimited like kid patience, and that I think for me kid patience went on an arc for difficulty when I was young. I had like kid patience for difficulty, and then difficulty for tedium as I became a teen, and now I am not kid patient anymore. That was my life cycle of that.
Yeah. I probably a really similar arc for me, honestly. I just another reading of this question might possibly be like, okay, to speak generally about people, different generations, if they, what they come to. I can only speak to my own experience getting started on, NES, and, an Intel 25 or whatever we had at the house, when I was little, playing Commander Keen and Wolfenstein 3D, things like that. I can only speak to mine. I think that something that I've noticed, at least in my family, is that younger family members don't necessarily have a problem going backwards, in terms of generation. Like they can sit down, I've got a little sister who was born 11 years after me, and she, had just as much fun playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors with my dad as I did, stuff like that. So I don't know. I can't speak to how much that does change it, for when you get into it. I don't think there is like a black and white and color movie divide for that, where no matter how good the movie is, somebody born into color films is going to have to get over that.
Yeah. And it just kind of depends to your particular sensitivities, whether you can move kind of forward or backwards.
Yeah.
Along that, and on what axes. So I think that it's just like, I don't think there's a general sense of that. Like there is kind of the right game for the right time. The same way that there are games where I had super kid patience, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to beat Battletoads. And I'm like, get on your fucking life. Am I going to sit down and beat Battletoads? As a kid, I would do it. But there are probably things that I like now. And I know there are that like I like now that I would find boring.
Yeah.
As a kid or not see the point of, Yeah. I remember the first time I tried to play, I had a little tiny like Toshiba satellite Windows 3.1 laptop, and I worked overnight at a tow truck dispatch place and would spend a couple hours before work downloading games and putting them on floppy disks from Home of the Underdogs, and then trying them out at work.
Oh yeah,
on this little laptop because I worked overnight and it was slow.
Right,
and that was a really like fun summer. That's like a really positive memory for me. And I got into, everyone was like, the greatest PC game of all time for like low computer requirements was Rogue, or NetHack rather. And I tried that and I could not do it.
Right.
at all. Like I was just in my early 20s. I was more into like at that time I could do something Twitch based and I could do something turn based, but I could not do something that lacked persistent progress. I could not do something like learning could not be the progress I made.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something I can get into now. And now like roguelikes and you know, rogue structures for games are one of my favorite structures for games. You know, so yeah. So that was a thing where it was important when that game came to me. So yeah, thank you, Marcus. Patrick says, had this thought recently, wanted to pass around this potential for discussion. What the fuck is up with detective vision? How has this become such a ubiquitous game mechanic in big budget RPGs and the like? I use the term mechanic loosely because I don't think I've seen it used in any way outside of a glorified hidden object puzzle. It's tedious and uninteresting. Do people like hidden object puzzles that much? Detective vision, to me, seems like a thinly veiled attempt at masquerading a visual technology showcase as an abysmally limp experience in gameplay. And to be frank, I've had quite enough of that shit. Say no to detective vision. I love this. Go, vote no on Prop 314. It is. I think Patrick's right. It doesn't bother me as much, but I think it is just like it's essentially the same thing as like the little arrow or quest marker or what have you.
It's a crutch.
But just on it's a crutch for like a micro scale thing. It is not particularly game. Like it does lend itself to tasks, like as opposed to puzzles.
Yes.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I'm trying to interrogate my feelings because, you know, one of my favorite games that I've played in the past several years, Hitman 2016, leans pretty hard on a version of this. And I don't know how to speak to what makes this different other than you are deploying it for short bursts of time, as opposed to in the kind of example with Batman where, you know, they actually had to take, you know, pretty strong measures to stop you from just living in it.
Just doing it all the time.
Yeah.
There's difference in efficacy. So the Hitman version will just highlight a person, you know, and it doesn't give you that. I mean, I guess that's really just the big one, right? Like it just lets you find a person through a 3D map. That feels like the Hitman one feels like an affordance to playing from a third person perspective in an area with lots of walls. Yeah. You know, because it would be obnoxious if there were like two hallways between you and this person and you just had to constantly, you know, search for them. Right. Like this is instead of having like a 3D map or something else you reference for that. The Batman version, the thing that is frustrating to me is like it's a way of expressing avatar capability while asking nothing of the player. Yeah. And the way they do that, like the good detective vision things in Batman, the ones I don't mind, I basically treat as cutscenes. Like Batman's going to look at this bullet trajectory. He's going to look at this like blood spatter pattern and tell me a little thing. Yeah. And going into detective vision for that, rather than just walking up and clicking A, doesn't feel that much worse. Yeah. The reliance on here's detective vision to follow the scent of this perfume or the scent of this cigar or the you know, this aerosol or whatever, just to give you a trail to walk through. Yeah. Is a little bit frustrating to me because I think that would be something that can be done a lot more interestingly, you know, just by having you follow landmarks or follow those clues as a player. Yeah. Right. Like I'm not expecting myself to figure out blood spatter analysis. Right. But I could look for blood on the corners of things without assistance. Right. You know, or something like that. And it might be kind of a pain to do so, but they design it so it's not a pain, you know. See, that's a smaller scale thing, you know, make it like, so in Batman, it's always like, here's a city block between each blood splatter. So you need to have the detective vision. What if it was, you're just tracking somebody through an apartment or something? Yeah. You know, I could look through like 4 or 5 rooms and look for the blood splatter and try to figure things out. And you can still have Batman do the commentary as you go. Yeah. You know, and just not have it automatic. And what if you're always tracking Batman's famous villain Sanguinarius, the man with unlimited blood? Yeah. 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 Like it just keeps coming. Yep. Just a real gusher. Blood. Yeah, he gives blood. Yeah. That's his superpower. That's how he finances his crimes. Yep. one glass of orange juice at a time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he just tosses cookies at you. Yeah. I'm so sick of these, Batman. Oatmeal raisin again. Let me get my plasma rifle.
Something else that irritates me about Detective Vision is that a lot of the times I see it used to highlight items that you can or interact with or ways forward. That to me seems like a way to bridge an artificial way to bridge the gap between art design, level design, and play, which should be more naturally integrated than just pressing a button that says "make sense of this space for me."
Yeah,
You know,
you should design it so you can see.
yeah, design it so you can
that.
see, make the level so that it naturally guides your attention to the right thing. Thinking you haven't played these games, Gary, but the Uncharted games are fantastic for this in terms of the cues that they put forward. Like something that you can climb on is always going to be colored yellow because of a sign that is there, or there's going to be like a road sign that is pointing at it, things like that, and it just kind of fades into the mesh, and that is excellent design. Obviously Valve is incredibly good at this. I feel like, just like, hey, highlight everything that I can interact with, as a button is just a way to get over those. Yeah, it's just a way to get over those deficiencies without actually solving the problem in a holistic or integrated way.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It's not like all designed. And there's also, ultimately, we're responding to this question in good faith. I don't think either of us are as mad about this as Patrick is. We didn't co-author a bill or anything. So it's like, I agree with this criticism. Ultimately, I feel like the games that lean on this a lot of the time are more interested in something else. Yeah. So this just kind of like gets you past the part they're not interested in. Yeah. Would it be better if that part were more robust and cool? Yes. Does it sink the game? No, because Batman's not really about that. Like, it is cheap. It does like bridge that gap artificially, but it's an excuse to get you to the next like cutscene or navigation puzzle or combat encounter. It's just like those are the things the game is about. So it's it is frustrating though. Yeah. Like it is not as good. And I wish there was more like things that didn't do it. Yeah. I wish there were things more like they were actually about observing your environment and kind of seeing things, looking around. And that's very rare in games actually. Yeah. Just being a detective.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Might as well do this one. Colorac says, this question not only applies to video games, but I feel that video games are the most prevalent way to ask about it. Lately, it feels like there's less and less things to be passionate about or excited for, and it feels easier than ever to slip into a very cynical worldview of not just the industry, but of games overall. I was wondering if either of you deal with something like this, and if so, how do you overcome it? Antidepressants.
If you're taking just gamer antidepressants, like just like antidepressant fuel, you're just slamming with like a little lightning bolt on the pill.
It's Olaf Code Red.
So specifically about games rather than just like how to deal with being a cynical worldview.
Right.
Like I was thinking about one of the things, and this is, just forgive me for being me about this, but when I was noticing how bad the dungeons in Final Fantasy V were, and thinking about how, and I want to actually like spend some time looking into this, like actually find some archives and stuff. But I was like, I don't remember any of my friends who loved these games ever being like the dungeons are tedious slogs. I don't remember ever reading that the dungeons were tedious slogs. Like when I read reviews of these games, like no one was ever like, these dungeons are just mazes to give you more random encounters,
right?
Because that's what they are. And I was thinking, like, now I think I would see that, in a review. Like, not only am I being the change I want to see in the world, but I would see people kind of complaining about that. So I think, like, in a very real way, games, like our standards for games and the breadth and kind of quality of a game has gone up, like, immeasurably. Which is one way that I would not be cynical. Yeah. Like yes, AAA games there's a stagnation there that people are right to criticize. That's fine. It's at this point, it feels like a small piece of the pie. Yeah. When Nintendo is literally having like indie developers create their own spins on their properties and stuff like that. Like, we are in this golden age of like middle class indie. Like not not strictly independent, not like extremely small scale stuff, which there's tons of that stuff. Yeah. But most people don't know about it, even if it's just what Devolver puts out. Yeah. Phenomenal games, and there's tons of them, and they're on like every system. So like it's hard for me to be cynical if I look at the entirety of gaming and much, which I think is just kind of improved. Like our breadth and our standards and everything like that has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
So that is a good cure for cynicism for me. Like there's just like a lot out there that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you just look to your left or right a little bit.
You know, it's not one of the ways that I fight this, but something that I find helps me. You know, every couple of months I will go onto Google and just do a search like, hey, what games are coming out in 2019? And usually the big sites maintain big lists, or retailers will have lists. And I just open up a calendar and I say, oh yeah, Mario Maker 2 is coming out this day. I just have that as a banner on the calendar. And for me, like, if it's a matter of like, okay, what is there to look forward to, even if I'm not going to get around to playing these games because of homework, it still kind of paints a picture where there is always something like just around the corner if I decided to get excited about it. You know, and like good things that I'm already interested in, either because they're continuations from good developers, or they just have an incredibly good elevator pitch that I heard talked about on a podcast or mentioned, you know, in a write up from some show or another. It's really hard to feel very cynical or feel like the hobby is drifting away from me when there is just kind of like a measurable amount of stuff that feels 100% on my alley.
Yeah. There's effectively unlimited games.
Yeah.
That exist now that are great and are totally up your alley. Like no matter who you are.
Yes.
And effectively infinite coming out. Like the actual race is against time and is against when you die. It's not about you'll never feel a breathness of quality content for yourself.
Yeah.
And just like kind of knowing that stuff's coming out, and like, you know, that is again. Yeah, good way to battle cynicism. Yeah. You know?
And the other side of this is maybe it's not worth battling it. You might just be entering a season where you're going to take a break from games for a couple of years. Why would you, I mean, please continue patronizing us and listening to us.
Yeah. Have you heard Unfilmable?
Yeah.
It's not about video games.
Right. Yeah. We have a handful of those on here. No, but I mean, just both you and I, Gary, have had times where we've just kind of drifted away and done other stuff. And that can be okay and has to be okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Nothing is stopping, you know, nothing is forcing you to play games if you're not feeling it. Take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. And come back when you're interested. If nothing's speaking to you, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have like a little bit of an existential crisis if I'm sitting down to play like games and just like nothing feels good. Like I'm just kind of like, oh man, like I feel like I want the experience of having a good feeling playing a video game, but none of it's giving it to me. Yeah. And then I go and I read a book and I feel amazing. Yeah. Like I go and just like lay down in bed or go to a coffee shop and read a book. And just, so I was like, oh yeah, you know? So like it's very hard for me to be cynical. Like I actually, you know, love this medium. And I think that it is like literally getting better all the time.
It's a fantastic time to be into this stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And we've been saying that for a decade now. So
yeah, and everything. Like I feel like it's a fantastic time to be in everything. Like we live, as far as media goes,
as we like, hard caveat.
Yeah, hard caveat. We are living in like an absolute golden age.
Yeah,
and you will run out of stuff that is worth, you know, experiencing before you die. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, you know, I cannot be cynical in the face of that personally.
No.
And I'm not calling you out for that. Just saying that like that's what I use.
Yeah.
I think this one will be a quick one. Alexander McConnell says, why are so many RPGs in the fantasy genre? Is there something about swords and story that makes it jive with crunchy character progression gameplay? Is it because of D&D? Are there literary genres, fantasy, sci-fi, spies, that just fit certain gameplay tropes better, such as RPG, FPS, strategy, etc.? D&D is a big part of it.
D&D, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, which, you know, like there's like a line which is like Lord of the Rings to D&D to all fantasy. Yeah. You know, especially all fantasy video games. You know, so D&D is a huge part of it. It took a long time for like, you know, role-playing games on the computer followed basically the arc of tabletop games as well. And the same way that those all started out as fantasy, and it took time for like Cyberpunk to come along or Call of Cthulhu or other kind of genre things to come along. Yeah. The same thing with video game versions of it. Yeah. You know, so there are sci-fi RPGs, like, you know, Phantasy Star is a fairly old series. It's just similar to you know, Cyberpunk or Shadowrun's share of the market on tabletop too. Like it's smaller and it's like less frequent. You know? So I think D&D like is really like the big answer for that.
Yeah. Even on the console side, ever since, arguably a little bit Final Fantasy IV, but Final Fantasy VI as well, they have been mixing around and dabbling with, contemporary technology, and, different kind of things. Like Final Fantasy has not been strictly fantasy for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't even know when or what kind of world like a Final Fantasy 15 is supposed to be in.
Right.
Like if you just look at a glance of it, it's like, well, everyone's using swords, but also they're driving around in like a car, and like it's just a melange at this point. Like none of those genre things are meaningful to a lot of RPGs now. It's just kind of like, here's some stuff. Yeah. It's barely even a setting.
Yeah.
Like
I also think the one of the bigger dividing lines is guns.
Yeah.
Putting any kind of setting that has a gun, it's going to be let alone a gun rack. It's going to be a hard sell to say, hey, your character's going to use a gun, but you are not going to be aiming down the sights of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as like literary genres matching up to different gameplay genres, like sure.
Yeah.
Like literary genres that have a lot of combat in them are going to lend themselves to more combat-based video game genres.
Yep.
And vice versa. Like if it is a genre like a spy thing, combat, it's going to lend itself more to a stealth game, because in that genre, like it is sneak around until you can't, try to get the drop on people. And that's how you get your Alphas, Protocols, and your Metal Gear Solids. And if the game is about running up or the genre is swords and sorcery, like you can bet that you're just going to engage directly with the enemy with either a sword or a sorcery. In some cases, a sworcery. If it is
in that one case, if you're playing with Super Brothers,
depending on how good your brothers are, you might engage with a sorcery. D&D.
Yep,
this is basically it.
D&D. Let's see here. Holland says Nintendo's mobile efforts have been a mixed bag, baby. If you could choose what genre of game and what franchise to pull from, what would you have Nintendo's next mobile game be? My answer is going to be really simple, and it would be the easiest one for them to do. Bring me Kirby's Epic, not Epic Yarn. What is that? Shit, the Curse Canvas. Curse. Yeah. Sorry.
You heard him. Give him Epic Yarn.
Yep.
Virtual D-pad, Ross.
Monkey's paw curls. No, give me Canvas Curse. That would be the easiest thing to do. I think that it would get a lot of positive attention, on a mobile market. That is what I would like.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah.
As far as Nintendo things, I don't, other than that, like, I think that's a really good answer. I think some of the, I liked Mario Run quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think I don't care about a virtual D-pad Dr. Mario that they put out on it. I think like a lot of like the big puzzle examples are not going to be great. I think something like Mario Run, like something that actually takes a mobile genre and adapts their property is a better idea.
Mario Run is so much deeper than people give it credit for.
Yeah. Mario Run's extremely, for like, it's the only $10 iPhone game I've ever bought. And it's worth it. I didn't go super deep on the kingdom building stuff, which I'm like, I don't love.
Yeah.
In that game, but like there is a lot more to it.
Yeah. I was just referring to the ascending coin challenges, getting to the blue and the red and black coins. Yeah. It's
a good game. Like it is a legitimately good game.
Yeah.
I think something like that, like something that is not necessarily an endless runner, but something that is a genre that we know works on phone, and then adapting it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that would be. As far as the big Nintendo 3, like I have affection for the aesthetics of Mario, Link, and Metroid. So, actually, never mind. I have my answer. It's Punch Out.
Oh, yeah.
Do Punch Out, but like, with the, erase everything I said that was like thoughtful and correct. And just say, give me a Punch Out that's basically Infinity Blade, but better, and I don't have to deal with Infinity Blade aesthetics.
Yep.
And give me Punch Out.
Punch Out is a good one.
Yeah, Punch Out. Punch Out. Punch Out. I want a new Punch Out regardless, like very badly.
Yeah.
Punch Out is good, folks.
Yeah.
I think this is probably, I'm going to switch us over, and this probably be a good time to move on from games after this, just so we get other stuff. And this is actually an easy one. Skipping a couple here. Samuel Skidmore says, How do you approach sharing your personal flawed gem games, i.e. games that you love with obvious problems? For example, I have a soft spot for the JRPG Okagi due to its Burton-esque style and charming writing. Despite this, I know the combat and dungeons are mediocre at best. So what I do is trick podcast hosts, and I mentioned on the QA episodes, you tricked nothing, Samuel Skidmore. I read this beforehand and chose to it. So you have fallen into my trap, not the opposite. I'm not locked in here with you. You, sir, locked in here with me. This is the reason why I want to answer this one is because I stopped doing this. Yep. And I don't, I will sing the praises of like Torment and say like you have to really, you have to play it like, but I don't try to convince anybody in person to do things like this. I'll use the platform, but I just kind of don't. Yeah. If something is kind of tricky, I'll be like, I'll let somebody come to me about it. And probably because of my job, but I don't actually like evangelize a whole lot of games.
I don't evangelize a whole lot of media in person, right? Like I'll make cases for like, hey, the Dark Tower books are pretty good. But again, that is just me using the platform. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, recommendations feel like time violence, even if they have the best intentions at heart, Yeah. And using the platform, I feel like, it's just a matter of, talking about the games in context, especially when something else reminds us of them or giving them their week in the spotlight on the show, and that's, like if there is a recommendation or if there is, me forcing something on somebody else, it is me advocating for us to play something here on the show, and it is you and me, but that is a different dynamic,
Yeah. And I can't say whether the reason why I don't do this in person very much is because of that. But I think as like one of the things as I've gotten older, I just kind of know like my buddies, my real life buddies, like what kind of stuff they dig a little bit more, So if it's something that I think is going to go against that, right? Like, so Brayton Cameron, my friend and yours, he loves like a lot of like loot based games. He'll do like clickers, and he'll do like Diablo likes, and he'll do like Monster Hunter online. Like, the things he gets into are fairly unpredictable to me, but they tend to be things that have a like a strong loot kind of component to them. Yeah. And I just know like if there's a game, like even it's not like Brayton doesn't like good stories and games and stuff like that, but I just know that if a game is not going to have that kind of aspect to it and just has a really good story, like I'm not going to push him on it. Yeah. He plays, he works full time and he has a relationship and he has hobbies and stuff like that. Like he doesn't have unlimited time for me to just foist, 30 hours on him. Right. And the secret is nobody does. Yeah. Like, nobody really has that time. Like somebody might, if they're looking for something to play, like, yes, but I let that kind of thing be an invite only kind of thing. Like, hey, what should I play? Like Derek every once in a while will text me and be like, what should I play? And I'll be like, oh, this is good. Like I played this recently. Yeah. Check it out. But I don't try to get them to play it.
Yeah, and I think that is probably the best, like, the best case scenario for this kind of thing. Like if you're talking about sharing your flawed gems with people, I don't know, just build up enough trust with them that they will come to you and give something a chance. And like I think a big thing about this, like if you are going to make a recommendation, do not in any way imply that if they put it down, they are going to hurt your feelings. Yeah. That I think is also is a little bit of a big deal. I don't think that you are doing this. I don't know you, but it's just it's probably a rare thing. Yeah,
like it's a thing that has happened.
Yeah.
So and it just
don't attach an awful lot of like relationship equity to them following through on the recommendation.
There's something like, because we're talking about it from a position of being able to use the show and stuff and use the platform and everything, but there is something to the idea of this kind of thing working best as something somebody comes to regardless. Yeah. Like sometimes, and I'll elaborate, like I'll explain what I mean more. Like every once in a while, we will do our show and we have a podcast and we will talk our opinion about a game or something like that. And then every once in a while, and this doesn't actually, there's no one being subtweeted because I don't think anyone does this to me now, but early on, occasionally somebody would do this where they would just kind of like reply to it, to what we had said with like a very like long dissent about the thing. Yeah. And my response, my instinctual response to that is always start a blog.
Yes.
Like it's not because I don't want to listen to you or anything like that, but I don't like, I always feel like, oh, we did the episode. Like I definitely said what I said.
Oh yeah.
About
Yeah.
it. You know, it's cool if you think differently, but this isn't a dissertation to be defended.
No,
this is us
no.
putting a product out and people can come to it if they want to.
Yes.
And enjoy it. It's not, you know, it doesn't need to be defended.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if somebody is just like, I can't believe you thought that, like, I really, really, you know, think that, you know, Legend of Mana or whatever, the Sword of Mana is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Write a blog about it.
Yeah.
Like put it out there. And even if you want to link me to it, that's great.
Yeah.
But don't, you know, don't try to get me to like the thing, you know, and this was the recommendation thing makes me think of this too. Like rather than like asking your friends to play Okage, if you don't think they would like it, maybe write what you like about it, you know, frame it as a medium or whatever, frame it as like, hey, this game Okage, it's really amazing. Here's what it is. And then you could be like, hey, I wrote this blog and see if they're convinced by that. And then they're kind of like coming to it. They're reading it. It's not personal. There's none of that personal stakes tied up.
No,
there's none of that. Like I would have my feelings hurt if you don't like this stuff.
Yeah.
That could ever get involved in it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we answered that question.
Yeah, we could move on for sure.
Let's see here. Move on to life question stuff. Gonna get the depressing one out of the way because if we don't, then it's going to it's just gonna linger there.
To haunt us.
Yep.
It's gonna you on the grudge us.
Popo for Show says, "Hey guys, as much as I hope Duckfeed lasts forever and you guys retire as cigar smoking rich fat cats, nothing lasts forever. If something ever happened to Duckfeed, would you guys stay podcasters? Maybe try to go into another medium or go back to your old careers? Thank you so much for all the amazing content." Thank you.
I don't. Thank you. I don't find that particularly like super depressing.
Right.
Like everything does end, but like I think that what is probably more likely at this point is that if Duckfeed did go away, it would be one of our choices.
Yeah.
You know, or both of ours, and that's not on the horizon at all.
No.
I just think it's more likely than like, you know, I've had like my friends from real life, you know, who have more conventional jobs be like, what is the worst case scenario for you? You know, and I'm like, well, you know, Patreon absolutely goes belly up, like just is no longer a thing. So it takes us a while to come up with our own system, like a la Giant Bomb. And then we lose some people through inertia, like without having that set up, like, you know, we take a big hit and then slowly rebuild. Yeah. And that's not the end of the podcast. Like that's not, you know, I will go to pretty amazing lengths lifestyle wise to continue doing a job that I like. And if that meant like, oh, like I need to live somewhere very cheap or I need to go get a roommate or something like that, then that would be the worst case scenario. Yeah. It wouldn't be that I quit it and I go work at Target. Right. You know,
you can't live the button down life. Oh, the city fathers and the blue noses will say, what's to do with this Gary Butterfield? I need the high highs, the terrifying lows, the creamy middles.
The city fathers and the blue noses. Is that also from the Simpsons quote?
Yes. Yeah.
I forgot that part.
The so-called city fathers.
Yeah, city fathers. I totally forgot what city fathers. And then so like but if we decided to end it, right? Like I don't think it would happen to us. I think that what I would like is to build up enough you know, internet people who like me and are interested in what I do. Yeah. To where I could then start like whatever crowdfunding thing for like, hey, it's me, Gary. And then I would try to do some form of this. Yeah. Like it would maybe not be a podcast. Like maybe I would do YouTubes instead that were just like, you know, like play a game and critique it. Yeah. Because I like that. And that might be it. Yeah. I would not go back to my old job. And I probably would not try to go like, you know, work at a gaming website or something like that. I don't think. No. Independence is incredibly gratifying, and my problems with authority did not start until relatively late in life, but they are absolutely pronounced now. You know, I would probably continue to try to be independent. I would probably do something similar to what Gary says, although that is not that is not in the works at the moment, because I am happy with the arrangement and I feel like we are doing incredibly good and satisfying work. So nobody should read anything into that. But yeah, probably go back to doing something in marketing, trying to be an agitator for change in the inside, but mostly doing consulting kind of stuff is what I would try and sell myself as. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully, it's a long time before anything like that happens.
Yep.
Let's see. Carlo asks, Duckfest, aka QuackCon, coming up in August. What are your favorite things about Portland? Any tips for visitors? Fun things to do? And also, Cole, what do you find most enjoyable about Portland, and what do you look forward to when you visit?
So this is going to be interesting for me because all of my visits to Portland, with only a few exceptions, have been entirely centered around PRGE. So I've not had a chance to go do an awful lot. That was not with you, Gary, for the, for just kind of extracurricular things that we have done. Thinking specifically of like, the time we went to the Aladdin to watch that Birthday Boys performance, or no, what was that? Yeah, that was live comedy Bang Bang, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, CBB.
Yeah. Or going to Fright Town things.
Several of the Birthday Boys opened.
Yes.
I think yeah.
I liked the Birthday Boys better.
Birthday Boys are good.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's been a bunch of stuff with you. I'm gonna come out a little bit earlier this time and try and get a little bit of alone time. One year my brother came out and he basically just walked the entire town and went to like the botanical gardens and stuff like that. He went and did like down by one of the kind of big town squares. Did like a Doctors Without Borders, like this is what it's like in a refugee camp kind of experience, kind of deal. Sure. That was all set up. While I was stuck interacting with fans at a convention center. So I don't know that I have a lot of kind of responses to this or, favorite things other than I've really enjoyed PRGE, and Portland is a cool city to just exist in because public transit is non-existent in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's easy to get around.
Yeah.
Which is super nice. You should definitely do some stuff.
Yeah.
I talk about it. I wrote up that thing on the website, but like Portland has a better than average, and this is just me being a dork, but like museums, right? Like when I think about cities, like I think about museums a lot. Our art museum is good. Our zoo is really good. Our science museum is very good. I think those are all things that are great to do if you visit, along with the obvious kind of tourist things, Powell's and our various barcades and the like.
Yeah.
And then, just amazing food city as well.
Yeah.
So I recommend people just eat incredibly good food.
Yes.
When they come up, like do those things, eat super good food. Mm-hmm. And also like, I always try to account for people who are naturey, in a way that I'm not. Like I don't care for nature, and basically I think we could do without the whole business.
Wash my hands of this.
Yeah, I wash my hands of it. I just don't, I don't care for the outdoors. I don't like it. But if you are into the outdoors, there's like literally a billion things to do.
No.
If people are still thinking about planning a vacation, I implore you, like come out a couple days earlier and maybe like take a car or rent a car if you are going to have a car and drive out to the coast, which I did recently. Oregon Scenic Byway 101 is like absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. Just huge dramatic rock formations out with crashing waves out on the ocean. Big, beautiful mountains where they'll have signs that just say rocks, which is a very ominous sign. What are they going to do? Just very, very ominous, but it's just very beautiful, full of like little seaside taffy powered economies.
Yeah.
And just, we didn't actually do it this time, but there's like so many lighthouses. I really want to do a lighthouse tour because that's like on my list of dream retirements. I
know. I mean, if I went and toured a lighthouse, I like that. They would have to pry me out with a crowbar. I would hermit crab that so hard.
Yeah, literally hermit crab.
Yeah, I would just show up with a suitcase. Yeah.
That's how you get to run the lighthouse, is by killing the previous lighthouse keeper. It's like the Santa Claus.
Else what are they going to do? There's no keeper.
Yeah, if there's no keeper, well, I guess,
while I'm here.
Well, you could also just kill them and dress up as them.
Right.
Do you think the people who run this thing know their lighthouse keepers very well?
No.
Like, not in a million years. Like, they pay them, send them a check or whatever.
Yeah, they communicate entirely by telex. It's fine.
Yeah. There's literally no way that if you just kind of wore one of their outfits or stapled their face to yours, they would know it wasn't them. So, like, if you want to make this, like, low-key art horror movie, if you're listening, please do it.
Yes. Something that I would say to avoid, Voodoo Donuts, both times I've gone, has been very disappointing.
Yeah, it's fine, but it's not great. Yeah. There are better donuts, but also, like, are you really coming to a town for donuts?
Yeah.
Like, go to a restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, go to if you need something sweet, go get the breakfast at Honey Milk. And you get a sweet and a savory kind of course with that, and the suite courses are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to? I always feel like we actually kind of give some short shrift to media question stuff because I think it comes after.
Yes.
We do a lightning round before.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to media.
Yes. Let's do that.
Media, then lightning round, and then topic time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is this you or me?
I forget. That was so. This is going to be me. Yeah.
Yep.
This will be me. We're going to move on to media questions. It feels like these later categories get a little bit of short shrift. Greg writes in, and I'm going to summarize your question down a little bit. Says, as a struggling podcaster, I admire you guys and what you have done with both WOFF and the network over the years. I'm wondering if you can offer any advice, as I've hit a brick wall in trying to grow my own. I've done all of the basic things that most people would suggest. Join a network so you can help promote your show and work with others, be hosted on sites like iTunes, be open to any and all feedback, publish on a fixed routine, things like that. Despite all of that, my numbers for views and downloads has remained static for a long time now, and nothing I tried seems to expand the numbers. He talks about how he doesn't want to launch his own network, but and also says that his podcast, the SNES podcast, might have limited appeal because it focuses only on one system. I can do them when I'm a co-host on 2 podcasts and work 40 plus.
Not sure what else he can do.
Yes.
Like he's very busy.
Yes. I'm not sure what I can do when I co-host on 2 other podcasts and work a 40 plus hour work week. Any advice or suggestions on this front would be much appreciated. Thanks.
Yeah. I think you're mostly doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Which is not helpful. Like the consistency is the big watchword. And then getting the name out there when you can. That is a delicate tightrope where you're not spamming or being obnoxious or getting banned from Reddit for promotion or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. There's a thing, and I'm not saying this is the case in your show, but I just want to point out as a thing is that this was not I had a couple runs at podcast stuff before this came with shows that didn't find an audience, and sometimes they just don't.
No.
Right. We're super lucky. It not only, we talk about how there's no sea change. We did not have a moment, right? A tipping point moment,
right.
With this network. We just kind of did the same thing for, 5 years or 6 years. Then we're able to start getting money for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that slowly grew. But we've been on a steady growth trajectory the whole time, but slow.
Yes.
We're coming up on year 8,
Mm-hmm.
8. And, early on, definitely, both had other projects and were working full time and stuff, and just kind of trying to do this in the margins and everything. And we largely lucked out. I like what we do. I think we're good at it, but we also largely lucked out.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything finds an audience.
Yes.
And it sucks. If it's something that you really care about, but it just happens. I have old shows that I did, and I it's what, even I'm, right on this network, right?
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing Heartbeat City in part. Part of it was because it was logistically a nightmare,
mm-hmm.
but part of it was because no one was listening to it.
Right.
Even we do stuff that doesn't find an audience. Nobody listened to File Underwater. If we had just started that podcast as our idea, and I think that podcast is great.
Yeah.
And we did it, we would get to the point where it's at some point we'd be well, this is just not picking up anybody. It's not finding people. We're doing everything we can, and it's just not what people want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a marker of quality. It can still be a good thing, and you can still be very proud of it, but it might not. You might have found the audience for what you're doing. Yeah. And you have to decide if you're okay with that. Are you mm-hmm. cool continuing to do this thing for the number of people you're doing it for? Do you like that? Is it, you having fun doing it? You'd be satisfied doing this, or is it time to try something different?
Yeah.
If you haven't, with something like the SNES podcast, I will say that we do a lot of, we do a number of little convention-y things a year. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of podcasts like that.
Yes.
There are the system podcasts that are very explicitly retro, or things like that. And it might be worth trying to scrimp together some money to do something like that, do PRGE or Midwest Gaming Classic or Classic Game Fest in Austin or something like that, mm-hmm. to get in front of some faces, to be able to say hey, here's a card, here are some episodes of ours that we think are good.
Yeah.
Here you can meet us. You can see that we're cool people, mm-hmm. And try to get to a place where a lot of people have that common interest.
Yeah.
Physically.
Mm-hmm.
if it's not working for you in the digital space to do so.
Yeah, I know that you, Greg, are up in the Northeast. Something like Too Many Games in Philadelphia might be a good place to go. You know, no convention that we have gone to has had a single table that was more than like $200. That is not nothing, but it is also like not as intimidating as you might expect. You know, and with a little bit of additional investment in things like signage and give outables. You know, either information cards or buttons and things like that, you know, saving up for a few months in order to, you know, make that trip might be a good thing. You know, when we talk about like, oh, things have grown slowly, we started doing conventions and shows in our second year of being a going concern. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's And just kind of knowing when it's time to try something different, right? Like that's not the same thing as giving up. Like a reformat might be, you know,
look at how many times we've done that with WOFF and with Bonfireside Chat.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. We've just taken something and been like, okay, this needs to change. We need to upset this apple cart because, and that was all on stuff on our end, but a general piece of advice is don't discount that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like if, you know, you talk about how busy you are. It sounds like you're extremely busy. If you do end up reformatting or launching a new show or whatever, launch it with an eye towards what you can actually do without like destroying yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Like don't work like end product backwards and just be like, well, I will conform to fit this. Think, what can I actually do on top of everything that is like still fun, that I can remain passionate about, that can make a good product, but is actually sustainable, and try that. And then see if it finds an audience, and it might not, right? Like it's not there. Like, and there are a lot of like really, really good podcasts out there. And I don't think that just because we've had the fortune that we've had that we are better podcasts than they are. Right. Like, and something, you know, we are very lucky. That is the fact of the matter. Like, it doesn't mean that we're not good at what we do, but it's both. We are very lucky. And the thing about luck is sometimes you have to keep trying something until you get lucky.
Right.
You know, so maybe that's what this, you know, if you're frustrated with this, if you're having those feelings, maybe this is your time to take another shot at it. Yeah. And see if your luck is better next time. And it may never happen. And that's also the nature of luck.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yep.
We wish you luck.
We do.
Yeah. Zach says, have you ever considered expanding the Duckfeed network beyond shows with the two of us, producing a show without being a host? Says Zach. So this is interesting. I'm glad that this question came up. Because we all get questions about this from time to time, you know, and the trick is for that, I think, is that we would want it to be a mutually beneficial thing.
Exactly. I don't know what we would have to offer.
Yeah, or like ultimately, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just to be super honest, like we do a billion shows on this network. Like we understand that not everyone has a billion hours to listen to all of them. If we brought in a show on the network, what they would get would be to be like part of our ecosystem. Like we would, you know, there'd be cross promotion, right? And then, and you know, it would, there would be some kind of, you know, payout part of it, you know, that would happen from the Patreon and stuff, but it would be complicated, you know, assuming that. And then what we would ideally, like what would be good for the network then, would be reaching a wider audience. Yeah. So that cross promotion happens and kind of diversifying like our stock or our stable, right? And right now those two mutual benefits are like pretty low. Yeah. You know, I guess like we wouldn't do a whole lot for people. Like when we put out shows that me and Cole are both on, we can't always get people to listen to them. Like that cross promotion doesn't, you know, see the answer the last question. Like we do shows that nobody listens to, on this network. And then, the other way where it would expand our audience, like, you know, don't know that it would. Like, it's very rare that things that are of like similar kind of statures or already have tons of overlap, like would be on the table for this. Yeah. You know, a lot of times there's already like, well, you know, we already have like share a lot of listeners, or it's just not like a lot of people. So that would be the, you know, from like, you know, Gary Businessfield, that'd be the perspective. And I hate Gary Businessfield. I hate him more than you guys do. I promise you. But like, it is just the facts, and it would be a not inconsiderable amount of work to do so as well. Like, you know, just adding the, you know, here's the promotion and the kind of online work, to get this thing. added to the stable.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And additionally, like if we were to bring somebody in, it would have to be somebody that we trusted implicitly.
Totally.
There are a lot of people in the community who we trust, but it's we would be tying our fates together like that. You know, my concept of Duckfeed, we're not incorporated as one, but it is very much along the lines of a co-op kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea that somebody could say something on a show that me or Cole are not on, mm-hmm. and then Duckfeed gets in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Is really terrifying.
Yes.
Right. Somebody just let something slip, and then, the network is facing like a bunch of heat for something we didn't do is like an existentially terrifying idea.
Yes. Yeah.
That being said, like, I also recognize that like Duckfeed, as we grow, like it's not the most diverse crew.
That was going to be my other answer. If there was an opportunity, to expand that either with our direct involvement or, an existing show that was like, hey, this could be beneficial. That would satisfy a goal. Yeah, that would actually, that's something we want. That's tricky because you don't want to be the person who is like, hey, like, here's our girl podcast. No, there's girls on it. Like, here's the one. Tokenism,
and then like,
bad.
how does that go? Yeah, tokenism is bad. Like, we don't want to do that. So, and we don't know exactly how to do it.
No,
I think that if it happens organically is what we'd want. Like, we'd want to have somebody who we already like really jive with, who wants to start something that we do trust implicitly, mm-hmm. And then that might be what works.
Yes.
But it's not going to be a thing where we're going to headhunt, for diversity, because that's weird. That feels gross.
Yeah.
I understand that it's not necessarily gross, but it just, and what if, just because somebody is, a underrepresented group on the network doesn't necessarily mean we trust them.
No.
Right. Like that's the case. Like, they're still individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They're still people. And that trust element, like, do I think like a straight white dude is more likely to embarrass the network? Yeah. But do I think that it's impossible for somebody of like any kind of oppressed population to say something that we're not on board with and get us in hot water?
Yeah.
Of course not. Like, of course that's possible. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a big question. It's definitely something we're thinking about as the network grows. And I hope that it is a solution that falls into our lap.
Yeah.
Would be my ideal thing. Like, something just kind of naturally feels like it fits.
Yes. Yeah. It just has to be something that all parties involved are comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah. And even right now, so we think about like people we have co-host with and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Will or Jeremy came up to me and were like, hey, I think this show would be a good fit. Like, what if Will and Jeremy did a show or something?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey, could we do this? I would be the trust, that they're people I trust implicitly.
Yeah.
For that. And that would be, but then we run into like the other factors where it's like we already do a billion shows, mm-hmm. and that definitely does not help us have any better representation. So like it's tricky. It's a complicated matrices of issues.
Bigger organizations with far more resources and far more experience also have as much or more trouble with this than we do. It is a more difficult problem to solve than it seems at the very least. Yes, than it seems.
Yeah. Like it seems very easy. It's not.
Yeah.
We don't think so. Yeah. We don't think it's easy. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hook us up.
Yeah. Popo Fashocho again says, what movies do you guys genuinely like but have received a poor or mixed reception? My favorite movie is Moonstruck, but I know it isn't the best movie. Snap out of it. I added a snap out of it. That was me.
Yeah. Is that from a Moonstruck?
Yes. Yeah.
That's when the moon hits your eye.
Yeah. It's when Cher slaps you across the face because you're in love with her. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Explain Moonstruck.
Tell me the tale of Moonstruck. Attend the tale of Moonstruck.
The obvious answer people want me to go for is Willow, but Willow has a good reputation. So I'm going to say my backup answer to this, which is always As Good as It Gets.
Oh yeah.
Which is a movie that I have tons of affection for and really love, and I think is probably not considered to be like a great movie.
Yeah.
But I think that is a romantic comedy that gets me, and I really enjoy.
Yeah. Good performances in that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Problematic AF, but that was the 90s.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that stands up.
Yeah.
In that case, what's your substandard fave as far as movies go?
Synecdoche, New York.
Is that not considered to be super great?
Yeah, it got really mixed reviews. It got mixed reviews. People thought it is a ponderous mess of a movie that is, more impenetrable than it needs to be. However, the themes of creativity and time slipping by, and then just the general mutability of space and obsession is something that really speaks to me in a way that I don't feel like I need to defend the shortcomings of the movie if it speaks to me that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Like, I didn't know that it had a mixed reputation.
Yep.
Midsummer has a mixed reputation with Everything to Guppy hosts, and that's a movie that I really love.
Is this the thing that's going to end the show?
Yep. If we don't get to that $20,000 a month Patreon stretch goal of ending Everything to Guppy, then it might be our separate takes on Midsummer. So watch Midsummer. Cole, watch Midsummer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would like to.
Yet. I'm gonna fucking Ludovico technique you into Hereditary when you show up in Portland.
I need to. I'll probably watch it before then. I just need to bite the bullet and rent it and sit down. I know. Please don't sick your dogs on me.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
Okay.
But the Hereditary force online is strong.
Yeah.
And then watch you not like it, right? Like, that's one of the reasons why recommendations suck.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you're just like, I don't really get it. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. Like, okay. God, sure. Let's see here. Here's a question again, just easy one, right?
No.
Eli Leslie says, I'm sure it's been discussed in episodes, but I haven't heard. Has the network ever considered, had any interest in doing a show based around a tabletop game like Adventure Zone? Sure, like some interest in that. Those require tons of work.
Yes.
Depending on how edited they are, like even the versions I like of that kind of thing, which is where you like hear the dice. Like, I want to hear people playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear this edited to be an audio play.
Right.
Really, like, I just want to hear people playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a lot of work to get a good sounding audio setup.
Yes.
For something like that. Like, I recorded, I've run a couple campaigns where I recorded the beginning of it with the idea of doing this, and never kept up with it because the recordings were just such horseshit and required so much work to massage.
Yeah.
I think that if we were not doing a million other shows, this would be something that would be more on the table, because I love tabletop stuff, but boy, does it take a lot of work.
Yep. A lot of work, a lot of logistics, in terms of getting people, involved on a consistent basis as well. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do any kind of storytelling thing, especially collaboratively like that. But yeah, it just it is a spicy meatball in terms of surmountability. Yeah. Let's see. What do we want to do, Gary?
Let's move on to. Do we do lightning rounds before the topic or after?
I think we've done both. What do you feel like?
Let's just do let's hit these lightning rounds.
Okay.
Let's clear them out. Let's clear out these bad boys. We've got like 6 of them. Let's do them.
Okay.
And then let's do the topic.
Yeah. So Sleepy Smiles asks, if you could create a blank simulator game, e.g. Thief, Flight, Goat.
Three genders.
Yep. What very specific thing would you like your game to simulate?
Yeah, that's interesting.
This is
because there are ones for things that I want.
Right.
Basically.
There's even that like DOS one that's the band manager, right?
Yeah. Rockstar.
No.
For DOS. And I'm sure there have been other games that have taken that ball and run with it. And there's like infinite managers online that are just kind of like take the same, like that cell phone manager thing we played. There's a lot of these managers.
The thing about these is that I don't know that I want them until I see them and play them. Like House Flipper and Garden Flipper specifically are extremely my shit. And I don't know that.
Wait, hold up a second. Garden Flipper?
Yeah. It's an expansion.
It's an expansion. Based on anything in real life? Like, do people flip gardens?
You got to add your curb appeal, dog.
So you're doing it for the house flipping?
Yeah, to increase the value. So it's an expansion for House Flipper that lets you go into the yards and design like gardens, yards and gardens and things like that, and also like just like rehab properties. So just like get rid of weeds and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No,
I thought it was a separate game where it was just about people like buying gardens to flip them.
No,
and I was like, that's bizarre. Like,
yeah. So like
HG Network has gone too far.
One half of House Flipper is, pretty much entirely just doing like handyman odd job kind of things. Like, oh, like I need to tear down this wall and please paint it something that is like this color. And then you do the work to finish it, adding your own touches to get more, to get more payment out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not all like buying houses and redoing them completely. You do the odd jobs to get the money to do those bigger jobs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I guess like if for me, like the thing that I wanted to do, and the tricky thing is like I could do this in Minecraft or maybe even in like Sims with mods and stuff. It'd just be a lot of work. I want something that's more designed for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess actually this could be, while we're wishing, right? Like we can just go, we don't have to have a modest wish.
Mm-hmm.
I would like a game that allowed you to load up a Sims-esque version of a town.
Mm-hmm.
And like almost, any town, like have this in the future, have this map to like Google Maps or what have you, and be able to have a virtual like town experience. Similar. Like I would love to be able to walk around my hometown that I lived in and go into all the houses and shit like that have that modeled.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just be an exploration simulator, basically. Like it would just be like kind of like Last Man on Earth simulator.
Okay.
You could pull up any town and just like, it obviously wouldn't have the interior contents of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's private, but it would just like emulate them. Here's some randomly procedurally generated.
Like this is a ranch house that has these windows on the front that we could ascertain from Street View.
Yep. And then when you go inside, it gives you like, it'd be like Thief Simulator, except just better, right? Like things like that. And I wouldn't necessarily be stealing in this. I would just want to like check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be cool. I've in many town building type things, I've tried to build my hometown.
Oh yeah.
That's a thing I do from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never quite as satisfying or easy as I want it to be.
Yeah. I would like Fate Simulator, which just would cast me as the villain of death in the
Haunted?
kind of no, specifically a Final Destination. Like I would like to manipulate people's fortunes.
You want Tecmo's Deception,
kind of, but I don't want it to be like a weird BDSM JRPG.
Okay.
I would like to go into a situation and manipulate probabilities in order to kill them.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And again, like some of these things you can do parts of it, with like you can do some stuff like that in say like Hitman. You can like set up accidents and shit like that.
Yeah.
Or in something like Ghostmaster where you can like set up, like a minor amount of Rube Goldberging to like scare people. But Julia says, which celebrity would you pick as a fully conscious NPC in your next tabletop campaign, aka Cyber Keanu Punk?
Mike Mills.
Keanu Punk. Oh, Mike Mills would be good. I've been, Joke Kit. I was trying to figure out because I wanted to do some Photoshop with it. Whenever I do Photoshop, it's embarrassing. But I had some idea of like, broke, or woke Mike Mills, broke Puppy Mills. And I like the idea of positioning Mike Mills as opposite of Puppy Mills in terms of like goodness and badness. Yeah. The two different kinds of Mills. You know? And I had some kind of idea for that, but I never did anything with it. Mike Mills would be a really good one to have in there. I'll just go with Keanu and say John Wick. If I could pull, John Wick in and not have it just seem like the most ridiculous Mary Sue,
right?
That's ever been, which is what
that's
it would
the thing, right? If you brought him in at his appropriate power level,
I guess I'd have to do somebody who is like, I mean, they're all going to be well written and stuff, so they're going to come in as kind of Mary Sue, stuff like the coolest person in the room, But so it's a little bit tricky. Like either that or maybe like really good like season 3 Game of Thrones Tywin Lannister. I would love to like have a character, just put that character in. Yeah. He's not a real life person. But Charles Dance, I guess then in that case.
What?
Charles Dance is the actor.
Who
plays him. So if it has to be a celebrity, Charles Dance.
Okay.
Great actor.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ben asks, if you were in a survival situation, such as stranded on a deserted island and got to choose one video game character to bring into the real world to help you survive, who would you choose? The Boss. Oh,
Boss, hey? Yeah, I was thinking about Solid Snake, but then I was like, I can't.
Solid Snake's a dipshit. Like the boss is
Yeah,
the boss is the true keeper of the knowledge.
I also need some quiet time on the island though.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't be on a Kojima island.
No.
Can you imagine being on Kojima Island where
Oh,
someone's
no.
constantly telling you about the island?
It's
The worst reality show. Like
Yeah.
just the, like every single time you look at something, somebody fucking taps you on the shoulder to tell you a fucking fun fact about it that the writers looked up in doing research. Just just parrot the Wikipedia at you.
Yeah.
Every single time you look at something. No
Snake,
thanks.
have you read Lord of the Flies?
God damn it, yes. Just like, what if I said yes? Like, that's how I feel about all of those fucking Metal Gear conversations. Like, yes. And then, like, well, you're not going to stop, though, are you?
No.
You're just going to keep telling me about it no matter what. Then and then just continues to say the thing that they're going to say regardless.
Yeah.
And also a desert island situation. Like, I would love somebody who I eventually could have some kind of romance with and fuck. So I think that would be a hard thing. Right? I need a survival person who, like, if I'm on a desert island, I would like to repopulate.
Yeah, the boss.
With.
Incredibly loyal. Yeah.
Boss is loyal. I like the boss's features. I don't know. Again, Kojima Island though, boss is gonna talk to me too much.
Yeah.
And not just like because I don't want my island mate. I want him to be quiet. Give me a beer. Shut up, island mate. No, I just think that Kojima people talk too much.
Yes, an important part of any relationship is companionable silence.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Maybe like Cella's.
So she can force feed you rotten fish after you break your leg.
Equally depressive.
Yeah.
Like eventually we just throw ourselves off the fucking cliff because it's island sucks. Yes, I don't know. That's probably about as good as I get.
Yeah.
But yeah. Knocker Broad Road. What is the spiciest food you've eaten?
Probably some kind of wing.
Yeah. I ate the habanero fritter challenge things at a place called Salvador Molly's in Portland, and they are too hot to eat. That was the spiciest food I've ever had, and they were not edible.
Yeah, I've definitely had like a curry that is spicier than I would prefer to eat, but I don't know if it is the spiciest thing. I like spicy food. I do not seek out the spiciest thing.
Yeah.
I
typically don't either. I do tend to prefer like pretty spicy food.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because you go to a restaurant, you're like, I would like it spicy, and it's like, well, is this food challenge spicy or is this just like very spicy?
Yeah. Is there flavor?
Yeah, exactly.
Doug Leaf asks, what in-game gadget would you most like to have a working version of in real life?
Portal gun.
Yep. God damn it, Gary.
Yeah, gravity gun's also a great answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll say gravity gun.
Yeah, the Grav's got the Valve. Valve has the meats.
Think about think about how much money you can make as a mover with a gravity gun. Yeah.
I would just love to not like move, and like I would have because I wouldn't use a portal gun all that often, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think I would do a minor amount of theft and vigilante justice.
Yes.
And then I would find a place I like to vacation to, fly there, hit the portal gun, get back on the plane, and then just be able to go back and forth whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. It'd be really fun to like live in, shoot it through somebody's window if they open it, and then live in like a disused wing of some millionaire until they like get mad and then just be like, ta-ta. And then just, like,
later, I have your jewels now.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of jewels. I think that this would be a tool for which I would do class warfare on a scale unprecedented. Class and real.
Robin Hood 2150.
Yeah, Portal Robin Hood. Make that game. Yeah. Orkybit says, "Who is your favorite teacher in school, and what about them made them your favorite?"
Are you trying to get my password questions, Orkybits?
Yep. That's classic Orkybits.
Yeah. I'm not going to make this easy for you. My high school choir teacher. She is a teacher that I had for 6 years. She was my middle school choir teacher too. I was not in high school for 6 years. But yeah, just incredibly supportive. Helped kind of encourage and cultivate my appreciation for music, and just genuinely a very pleasant person. Yeah, high school choir teacher.
I had some okay teachers, but I had like a lot of mediocre teachers, and I don't have strong memories of them. No. There's no like to serve with love for me. And I went to college, and I had a very good poetry teacher who I'm friends with on Facebook. She's great. And then I had one good creative writing teacher, but I also that was about it actually for my college experience.
Yeah,
like a lot of horse shit with a couple exceptions.
Yeah.
So I don't have strong memories of teachers. It's not an honored position in my like sphere, really.
No. I've had a few like teachers who have unlocked things for me. I was not good at school and specifically was terrible at math until 7th grade. Had a 7th grade math teacher who taught he was cantankerous in a way that spoke to me and taught in a way that completely unlocked that subject for me. Additionally, I had a chemistry teacher who unfortunately passed shortly after I graduated, who did something very, very similar for me. Sometimes you get a teacher who has a way of relating to you that calls you to a little bit more, expects more of you, but you end up doing things that you didn't know that you could do. Yeah.
Cole,
finally,
pro teacher. Gary, anti-teacher. Text Cole to
let's see here. Final lightning round one. Michael asks, quick one. Have either of you messed around with any auto chess games? I usually stay away from fad genres, but this one hooked me with its strategic depth.
I've only heard the name. I have no idea what it is.
Same.
So I have not.
I don't know.
Sorry,
I think
to have an unsatisfying answer.
Yeah, I think it's a Dota thing. Maybe. It looks like it based on screenshots, but I have no idea. Sorry.
Yeah.
The world is scary. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And now what I'm with?
Isn't it?
Who even knows? So thanks everybody for your questions. We're going to move on to our topic suggestion. And this episode's topic comes from Garrett. He says, you've touched on this a bit before, but what do you guys think about the nature of video game addiction? When is too much, too much? How do you draw boundaries between games and the real world?
So big caveat, neither of us are psychological professionals.
Yep. I was just about to do the exact same thing.
Yep.
Go to JSTOR and find peer-reviewed articles about this very subject.
Yes.
For that perspective. And if we say anything in contrast to that, it is not because we're positioning ourselves as knowing more about that.
Neither directly about addiction, which is a complex and fascinating topic, especially in an economic sense. I just listened to a podcast interview about limbic capitalism and basically just the way that addiction and vice has been, from a very early time married with capitalism in order to make sure that the things you will like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But complicated, fascinating topic. We have a very limited kind of insight into it, but the idea of compulsive play, and especially things that we see that seem to design decisions that we see in games that seem to kind of foster that.
Yeah. I think that there is definitely. So I guess that breaking it down into subjects, right? Like, and again, keeping those caveats in mind. I think we should, like, a good way to organize this would be player side and then kind of game side.
Yeah.
And player side, talk about our experience, talk about, drawing those boundaries, like times we have fallen into compulsive play and what that means to us and such. And then game side, talk a little bit about developers and insidious horseshit that EA does to monetize the whales and is just like so unbelievably evil and shitty. So that's basically the scope in which we could talk about it, I think.
Yeah.
When do you think, what is the example you have of being most addicted to the game? Like, have you ever gotten to the point where you have been like any anxiety about it? Like, fear is probably a strong word, but like even any anxiety where it's like,
Yeah. So I think that when Garrett says, hey, when is too much, when you start to be worried about it, that's when it's too much. Like if you have to ask, it is probably worth evaluating how much that is fitting into your life, evaluating what is being harmed by you partaking in this thing. What are you giving up? For me, like the most recent and kind of like largest example would be Stardew, where I think I put 110 hours into it over the course of a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It's about 30 hours a week.
I know.
Just about. So that's a full-time job in a civilized country.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that was a problem. And I don't know, I can't speak specifically to why. There is a rhythm to that game. There is a satisfaction. That was a time when I was really, really frustrated at work, my day job as well. Things were going fine here. But the idea of going into this place where you have control over the land and your success is directly related to what you put into it, in that meritocracy simulator kind of way. And also it played into my desire for optimization. Yeah, there are just a lot of things that definitely spoke to it, and probably just our good old fashioned friend depression.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley was a dungeon train for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's probably like as close as I've gotten. Like I tend to, for me, I draw a distinction in an addiction where something ends or not.
Yeah.
Right. Like I chugged the fuck out of Divinity Original Sin 2 when I got into it recently, but with the knowledge it would end and I would be okay when it ended.
Yeah.
Like I want to get to the end of this, and I have like exhibited a little bit of that behavior whenever a big release comes out that I am really excited about.
Yeah.
Like there are certain games that I will like chug and I'm just like, well, I'm going to play this until it's over, and I'm going to play a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's happened every time like a Dishonored game came out. Every time a Souls game has come out, even if it's not for work, like I just tend to chug.
Yeah. And other media, that is not called an addiction. That is called a binge.
Yeah, it's called, and it's encouraged in a way that I also think is probably
not great,
worth questioning, right? Like the saving some for later is different than addiction, but it's also probably best practices.
Yeah.
These things. I've never been super scared that I have too compulsively played a game. But I have gotten to the point where I've just like, I recognize like, oh, like I'm playing this more than I should, or I'm, like I need to move on, or I need to have a way to have this end.
Yeah.
But part of that is through design on what I choose to play. Like I don't play stuff that doesn't have that, or I try not to. Like I got back into Magic a little bit earlier this year and played some Arena. I still have it installed on my computer. I haven't picked up in a couple months, but I might still play it some more. But I recognize as a certain point, like, oh, this is a live service perpetual thing. This is something where there's going to be expansions that come out on a regular basis. They're going to continue to email me free codes for free cards and stuff to string me along.
Yes.
Because their goal is to trap me playing this forever, and to make me addicted to it. And either addicted to it, like I can't tear myself away from it, or that I feel a responsibility to like log in, and get in my time on this. And I was like, okay, well that means that's my time. That's my cue to back off.
Yeah.
Like it's not that it's like, oh, I'm a werewolf that has to be locked in a jail cell at the full moon. Like, I don't think I'm going to go crazy for it. I just am very aware of being prey.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's going to try to play me like a fool, I do not want to be like a fool and be played with.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want it.
No.
So
because in a certain way, that feels disrespectful. It feels just like, hey, well, like I can see what you're doing. Like why are you trying to exploit me?
Why? Yeah, I never want to be tricked, and it doesn't seem like good art. It doesn't seem in good faith to me.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of that on the dev side because that's their stated goal. It's not a secret, right?
No.
Like you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist guy to realize like, oh, this is actually the design. This is what they want, is for you to continuously log into your Destiny 2s or your Warframes or your Worlds of Warcraft or any of that stuff, just to continuously get this dopamine drip of this thing that you're addicted to.
Because their key performance indicator in a lot, it's one of many, but one that you hear about is active daily users. For any kind of web service, that is the case as well. Because you can have like number of people subscribed, etc., but how many people are engaged? That is what they are trying to maximize, and that is why a lot of just general marketing tech, ad service tech, that kind of analytics is spilling over. Look at, Gama Sutra occasionally runs articles about this. It bubbles up into more mainstream media that is not aimed at devs, but just the number of trackers that are included on mobile games, but also kind of increasingly how much data is being shipped back to the actual developers, because ongoing optimization is their lifeblood. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you are being surveilled and observed and picked apart on a demographic basis and on a behavioral basis to try and figure out what they can do to pry more out of you.
Yeah.
Again, not a conspiracy theory, just a thing that happens.
It is. Yeah. It's just true.
Yeah.
Like, it makes us sound paranoid, but it's not. It's just literally the truth is that people are seeking to exploit you. And it's pretty fucked up, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, the science part of this that we admitted we know very little about, I do know that literal video game addiction is possible.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when someone says that's fake, it's like, well, you can actually get addicted to anything. Like, the nature of addiction is not just cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's any kind of behavior. And just the idea that somebody is going to prey on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody, you know, it is somebody's job to look for weaknesses in the human mind and then try to make money off of that weakness. Is a really grotesque thing. Like, that is a really disgusting thing that we just accept as a people, that this is somehow okay. And just what business is like, it's just how it is. Right.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about games specifically, these kind of, you know, these live services that are designed to dangle this carrot, you know, this loot box carrot in front of you, you know, and then, you know, and continue to get you to re-up your dedication. But this is true of so many things. You know, it's not just games. It is a factor of capitalism to sound, again, like us.
Yeah, no. And, you know, just I don't generally make an appeal to authority or experience or experience, but, you know, for 7 years, I worked as a propagandist for this. I wrote defenses and what they are going to do whenever a company that works with this tech or sells this tech, what they will say is, this is not just a way to harvest information to make more money. This is a way to cater the experience and give people more of what they want. Why are you against us having all this information or loading the product down with these different things? We just want to be responsive, you know, like, so what you're saying is you don't want us tracking where you go. Oh, so you're saying that you don't want ads that are catered to things that you actually want to buy. You just want to see ads that are not relevant to you. Why do you want to inflict that on people? That is the line that is being sold. And with games, it is like, why are you paranoid about being watched in this regard, or, you know, being analyzed this way? You know, are you saying that you want bad games? Are you saying that you want the next map to not be the next map that we released to not be you know, optimized, you know, to
for what you want?
Yeah.
Or you know, or why are you criticizing the people who are just having fun? Like, these people are, you know, this is what fandom has always been. Like, there's no difference between a, you know, Destiny 2 maniac and like a Sonic fan or something like that. That is, you know, really disingenuous, you know, as a thing. And it's also doesn't put any weight on anything, you know, like I listened to a podcast recently about eye tracking technology, and, you know, which is terrifying and horrible. And I'm just gonna start wearing sunglasses all the time. You know, just to stop me. And then they're gonna have the iPhone that comes out with the thousands of little cameras on their screen, which means I'm never going to upgrade my iPhone because I am not going to have an always on camera that is tied to a company.
You already do.
Yeah, I know, but not to. There's a matter of degrees. Yeah, like, it's like, you know, people. There's the, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. Thing that pops up with this stuff that I think is a little bit crazy, right? Like, you know, like, yes, I have a camera on, like, a webcam set up and everything like that, and there is a camera on the phone. But if I'm, like, out in the middle of a car somewhere or something like that, and there are no cameras in the car, like, yes, there are, like, traffic cameras and shit like that. But if I don't have a phone that is taking pictures of my face every single time I look at my screen, you know, then to me, there's a difference. Yes. You know, like, it's not like, yes, I already gave some of my information to Facebook. That doesn't mean I want to give all of my information to everything.
Reasonable.
You know? You know, so it's, for me, it makes a difference. But you know, looking at something like that, looking at always on cameras, always on eye tracking, things like that, trying to find out more about you doesn't add any weight. So, like, the advantage I would get from that is this level in Fortnite or whatever is made specifically to my taste, or made closer to an amalgamation of everyone's taste. The thing I'm giving up is ineffable and holy. And that thing I'm getting is not something I really even want. Like, I don't care what ads I see. You know, I'm not. It's like I've always heard that argument, and it's like, don't you want to see ads that are relevant to you? No.
Yeah, I'd prefer
Like,
my
no,
ideal.
Certainly not.
Yeah, my ideal world has no ads.
Yeah, and if there's going to be, I don't care what they are.
Yeah.
You know, my next ideal world has as few as possible, and my next ideal world has even fewer. And onward. I don't care that they are targeted at me. Like, I don't want targeted ads. Every time it happens, I feel like shit.
Yep.
Like, every single time I Google something and then Facebook shows an ad for me, I feel like garbage.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes me like, it's one of the things like is a downside of this job. Like, I love this job for both those reasons, and also for my mental health. I've thought recently a lot that if it wasn't for this, I would become one of those deletes all your social media guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think like I don't exhibit addictive behavior towards games. I do exhibit addictive behavior towards online and Twitter.
Oh yeah,
specifically,
no.
Like in a really bad sense. Like, I'm not good.
How relatable is this? You go to one feed, you drag and see what's new. You go to another one, drag and see what's new, and then without even thinking, you go back to the first one to see what's new.
Yeah, and no time has gone by.
Yeah.
So I do that shit. I would love to, and that's on purpose, right? Like, that is my design.
It's same shit.
Yeah, same shit. You know, same shit, and as that makes these kind of, you know, practices. And I would love to cut that off and make that not possible for myself.
Yeah.
The same way that I only play games with an end.
Yeah.
You know, almost exclusively play games with an end. There's Gungeon and Isaac, like, there are exceptions in terms of roguelikes and stuff, but I'm not going to do an MMO. I'm not going to do a Schluter. I'm not going to do any of these things that like just are designed to have a new content update once a month that you never ever quit.
I feel like the two of us are saved from this a little bit because we are both so opposed to social gaming. Broadly.
Yeah.
I think that something that is a godsend about these bigger titles, most of the ones that people end up that you hear stories about addiction or, you know, dependence to, they end up being multiplayer affairs where publishers and developers have figured out that the social pressure is also something that keeps you in.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, that it is a network effect for encouraging dependence, because if they can keep enough of you, if they can keep a critical load in, then it is going to keep the stragglers in, because that is how I interact with my friends. You know, like, this is just the thing that we play.
Yeah. Like it is naive again. And I recognize how paranoid we sound, but we're not. It is naive. No. I think it is naive to think that the structure of the raid, like the structure of WoW, as a thing that starts off as something you can solo and then eventually becomes something you have to do with your friends, was not designed with the idea of those social pressures keeping people engaged.
No.
As a first principle, like, the point of this is that you need to have people together that might convince some people to keep their subscriptions. Yeah.
For a fact, the majority of MMO decisions, design decisions, things that are considered, to be, either downsides to the genre or things that keep people hooked, span back to EverQuest, when EverQuest was designed as a multi-user dungeon where they would charge you by the minute to be in there, and make it so that, in order to accomplish something, you need as many people because that maximizes revenue. They had, imposed weights built in, meditating to get your mana back and things like that. Again, to nickel and dime you for all of that. From the very beginning, that particular genre has been designed to optimize, revenue in an ongoing way.
And I know that it probably sounds like we're picking on specific genres, and you could probably say like, oh, these are just genres you guys don't like.
No, I played a shit ton of these back in the day.
Well, yeah, not only do we have the experience, but also it is true that these tend to be the games that foster addictive behavior, right? Like, you don't often, like, sometimes you'll run into people who are like addicted to something like Skyrim, but it's not like, it's like, oh my God, here's an addiction story about somebody who's addicted to Symphony of the Night. Yeah. Like a game that takes 9 hours to beat, and then like maybe 15 hours to 100%. Yeah. You're not going to run into that. And it's not that we are talking, we're saying these games are addictive and shitty because we dislike them. Part of it is the things that make them addictive and shitty are also reasons why we dislike them. Yeah. No. It's an Ouroboros. Ouroboros. Ouroboros.
So the caveat, or at the very least a hedge, to a certain extent, so we don't sound like teetotalers, even if something has the potential to be addictive, even if the marketing and the general commoditization of it is something that is intended to foster this. To take it to another example, it is really hard to say that using, this is again an example from that podcast I listened to, it is really hard to say that like toasting somebody with wine at a wedding is a net negative for society.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It just did not sound like total abstainers, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically more or less what I have to say about it or know about it, as a thing. It is something that, like, it feels like there are some tides turning with it, right? Yeah. Like, there has been legislation introduced about this stuff recently. Like, it is something where now, and we talked about this last episode, I think, like, during the farce that is E3, a company can go up and be like, and guess what? No loot boxes, and everyone loses their shit. Like they just announced like free cars for everyone, as if they weren't solving a problem that they caused.
Yep.
Like as if they should deserve any credit for that. Like imagine that world. Imagine being that person who's like, yes, I can't believe they did it. I love them.
Yeah.
Like what is wrong with you? You fucking nerd. Like stop.
Yeah.
But if there are some like companies doing that, realizing that people are pushing back on it. And one side that is movement towards goodness, another side that's going to be them being more subtle.
Yeah.
There are plenty of practices in the stuff that people don't see as exploitive that actually like kind of are, and lead to this kind of addiction. And, I don't know. It sucks. I don't have anything more than it sucks.
No, it sucks. And it just kind of goes back to, when is too much when you start feeling worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Or when somebody close to you says, "Hey, this may not be something you notice
about
yourself."
That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Like if somebody tells you, like they're worried about you about a thing, like and as a natural born contrarian, I understand the urge to push back. I urge you not to push back on something like that. Like that is time to reflect because your people around you know you better.
Yes.
One of the things, like when I broke up with my last like serious girlfriend several years ago, obviously I had tons of regret because we were in a long established relationship and it was hard. And when I would express that to some of my friends, they would be like, "Oh, you're like a lot happier now though."
Yeah.
And I just had to believe them. Like I was miserable in that moment because I was missing my ex.
Yeah.
But they know me better than I know me as far as like an objective.
Yeah.
Kind of sense that it's like if somebody says like, "Oh, you've lost weight or you've gained weight," like, and you're like, no, I haven't. Like, well, you see yourself gradually every day in time lapse. They probably are seeing you once, every couple of weeks and can actually see differences. You're watching the hour hand on a clock and they're watching the second hand.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 So we're going to move on to your responses.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody. We'll put up a discussion prompt, as always. On Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you get to ask us these questions. If you have responses for our games, write in by the 15th of the month. So obviously too late for July as we're about to read them. And too late for August. No, not too late for August. So write in by August 15th if you have things to say about our next games. But for now, we're doing July 3D platformer month.
Yeah. And we're going to get started here with our response about A Hat in Time. This is from Francis. Viva Contact, who was actually the person who I believe commissioned the month and requested that we play A Hat in Time. So it is good that they were in. Francis says, "Thank you for a month of fascinating 3D platformers talk, despite the apparent frustration it unearthed. It's funny listening to the episodes since my inspiration for the theme was nostalgia for a certain kind of cartoonish, doesn't take itself seriously game that I loved as a kid, and was bummed out that they really don't make them anymore. Listening to your critiques, perhaps there's a reason for this. I thought A Hat in Time would be a good fit for the show as, unlike Yooka-Laylee, the other attempt to throw back to the style, it's a game that constantly adjusts the gameplay on the player, for the better and for the worse. It's also actually funny and as charming as those old games were. The fact that the music is generally stellar, I also hoped Gary might appreciate.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And here's a parenthetical. Though hearing the drive-by Banjo-Kazooie received, I'm increasingly relieved with the direction the month went, as I'm not sure my heart could have taken you beating Ape Escape to within an inch of its life. As is often said, you learn as is often said, you learn just as much from games that don't work for you as from the ones that do. I didn't quite see the month of motion sickness and pain coming when I pitched the theme, but as harsh as you were on A Hat in Time, it's always an informative and interesting listen to hear you dissect a game, even ones I love. I wish you a speedy recovery, Francis. P.S. I swear I didn't try and backdoor an abject suffering in the most elaborate way possible.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think you were doing that.
No.
I genuinely hope, and I want this for anyone who's ever like patronized support a thing, and I know this isn't necessarily how it works, but this is what I would wish, is that no one ever feels bad.
Yeah.
Even a little bit, like if we don't like the thing, like the way that I see the patronage is like you're saying, hey, take a look at this.
No.
And then we take a look at it. And that's kind of the end of our responsibilities. And whether we like it or not, like it is okay to have reactions to that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not personal, and it doesn't mean any, like there's no guilt necessary for anything.
Right. Absolutely. So like I am grateful, A, for the support, and B, for being forced to take a look at this genre that we necessarily haven't spent a lot of time with.
Cold on. Like generally kind of Luke cold on and like don't really love. But it was still good to get a to do a deep dive on it, and like I didn't hate A Hat in Time. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
There are parts of it I really liked. I feel like it was okay. And I feel like that's what I was trying to get across in the episode was like I didn't love it, but didn't hate it. Had some problems, had some things I liked.
Yeah.
And it was a fairly mediocre experience to me in a literal sense of the word. Not damning it on with a 5 on the 7 to 10 scale. It's like a 6 on the 0 to 10 scale.
No.
It's pretty all right. And I had definitely had some fun playing it.
Yeah.
So I remember liking Ape Escape. I would be really hard pressed to visit it too. I would be worried. And Banjo-Kazooie, a couple people like in the Slack were definitely like, what do you guys have? How could you dislike Banjo-Kazooie that much? I'm like, well, it's just you'll never find out. You know what?
Sometimes different people can look at the same thing and see different things.
All the time.
Yeah.
See everything to Guppy Midsummer Gate. It just definitely happens. Like that's what happened was you can look at the exact same thing and someone can be like, everything you said was good about it is actually bad. And someone could look at the exact same thing and say, everything you said that was bad about it is actually good.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, I don't like how the characters look. Someone would be like, I love how the characters look. There's no discussion there. Yeah. It's just taste.
What do you do when there's no overlap in like and dislike or good or bad?
And when it comes to like more concrete things, right? Like if it's like this jump, like there are, I believe that there are objective criticisms that can be had. Like it is possible that things can be objective. So we can say something like, the mantling is fiddly. Like you wouldn't always mantle, or the thing in A Hat in Time about how when you jump off of a wall jump, like a wall cling, you spring at a 45-degree angle off. Like that's an objective thing that makes the game harder, right?
Yeah.
But if you like the game, the thing you could say is, well, this just didn't really bother me. So it doesn't mean, it's not like the actual thing itself is an objective thing. It's just like whether it impacted you. Yeah. Or a subjective thing. It's whether it impacted you or not. So.
And so nobody should ever feel the need to, if they patronize something, to say like, oh, sorry you guys didn't like it, et cetera. Like, anybody who has been through the process is aware when we select things, we ask you to give us options. We would not necessarily agree to, I think, something that would be genuinely miserable.
Yeah. We talked about, we've been transparent about that process. We asked for weighted choices of 3, but if someone sent us 3 choices and we didn't think we'd have things to say, or we'd be totally miserable during all 3, we would not do it. And we would give the person their money back or ask for other choices, or it would be a discussion.
Yes.
Like they're talks when we do these things. So definitely don't feel bad. And I was really happy to do 3D platformer month, not because at the end of it, like I like 3D platformers, but because it's like, well, now I just feel, the service the show serves me, is cementing things. So it's like, I feel very much comfortable in that opinion because I really examined it. Like I sat down and and tested, kicked the tires on that opinion, So yeah. Moving on to responses about Psychonauts. Gavin says via contact. Viva contact. Sorry, I forgot about that. Great app. Strongly agree with the characters and theme being delightful, but the levels are a disaster. The Meat Circus ranks along the beach dance in GTA San Andreas or Aztec on 007 agent mode as far as painful slogs go. Lungfishopolis stands out in my mind as I was working at Costco, and in the middle of the stage, I got a call from my manager asking where I was. Turns out they sometimes adjust schedules with little notice, and it was the only time I was late for work that summer. I played through using GameTap, which for a short amount of time was an excellent and generous service. Keep up the great work. Mimp owns.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Monster My Podcast.
Not tons of love for Monster My Podcast. I'm always happy to hear that. Yeah. Yeah. That's agreed.
Agreed.
In general, yeah.
I mean, it was the one time you were late to work that summer. That's Costco's fault, not yours. And not Psychonauts.
Totally.
Yeah.
Definitely not Psychonauts. Definitely Costco's fault. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bill says via contact. Thoroughly enjoyed
what contact?
Viva contact.
All right.
I thoroughly enjoyed your episode on Psychonauts. This is more of an anecdote than anything else, but I had a very similar experience playing this game. My first playthrough of Psychonauts was about 4 years ago on the PS3. As a fan of Maniac Mansion, Day of the Tentacle, etc., I instantly fell in love with the humor, writing, and charming oddball characters. It was also one of the few games my wife and I enjoyed together. She doesn't play video games, but she fell in love with the story and the ingenious way the game presents its themes. We fell into a rhythm. My job was to get through the endless collecting and grinding and save the story beats for when we could enjoy them together. Fast forward to the infamous Meat Circus, a hellscape of stakes, coach abuse, and horrendous platforming. The area pushed me to my limit. After hours of fruitless attempts at finishing the level, in what would have to be the closest I ever got to a rage quit, I exited, uninstalled the game, and deleted the save file. Not only would I not finish the game, I would never be tempted to try again. To this day, my wife will still bring up Psychonauts and wonder why we never finished it. And my answer is always, you had the pleasure of watching it, but I had the misfortune of playing it. Thanks for an excellent episode.
Yeah. I like coach abuse.
I don't know what that means.
Noun, like a hellscape of stakes, coach abuse, and horrendous platforming. I think it's it's Coach Oleander, his abuse that he suffered, but just like coach abuse, just some coach abuse, like raise awareness of coach abuse. Vote yes on Prop 114.
No, you drop and give me 20.
Yeah. Exactly. By the end, I'd given so many 20s, I had nothing left to give. Yes, like, how many laps can one man give? And I definitely have had that experience before. The very specific experience of having my ex-wife, be like, "Hey, why don't you play that game that she was enjoying watching?" And me having to be like, "Well,
it's not fun."
Like, I wasn't having fun playing it. Like, and it feels bad because they're having fun too, and it is like a fun, social experience to do that. But yeah, it definitely happens.
Yep.
I say check out and see if your wife would like watching you play Day of the Tentacle, which is funnier and more fun to play. Mm-hmm. I don't know, funnier, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
Moving on to Doug's contact, friend of the show, Doug, via Viva Contact. I wholeheartedly agree with you, or agree that whether you like Psychonauts depends on the transaction you talked about in the episode. For me, it's ultimately a net positive, but I admit on my PS4 playthrough, I skipped the Meat Circus and finished the game via YouTube.
Correct.
I think yes, absolutely. I think what's so frustrating is that there are 3D platformers of this vintage that control so much better. The one that comes to mind is Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank isn't the height of gaming, but the characters, their verb set, and their weapons all move fluidly and responsively through 3D spaces, not too dissimilar from Psychonauts wireframes. It just saddens me a little to think that if Psychonauts story elements had been paired with that level of gameplay and polish, it would have been an unassailable classic instead of the flawed gem we ultimately got. A truly brutal legend indeed.
I think you mean brutal legend.
Brutal legend.
Yeah. For sure, Ratchet and Clank is the best controlling of these, because it is a third-person twin-stick shooter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, having de-emphasizing platforming in a 3D platforming, one of the things that I've learned that I think definitely is that that's a success.
Yeah.
I'm not into the process of platforming in 3D. I don't think it's very good. And the games I like that do it, I like it generally in spite of it.
Yes.
And even in something like Psychonauts, which has a lot of other stuff going on, like the actual 3D platforming was what caused a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
It was just fiddly mantling, fiddly, like weird, false, shitty jumps.
Yeah.
And then just the tedium of doing it to things like changing the light.
Yeah.
In Gloria's stage play.
Another example along the lines of Ratchet and Clank that we didn't bring up during the month, but it was brought up in the Slack by Paul, is that Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, and its follow-ups could pretty easily fit into this category as well.
Oh, yeah.
And those, I kind of just don't consider those to be part of the genre just because they control so well.
That's definitely says something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's I was expecting more pushback on the Psychonauts episode, frankly. Not that I'm not disappointed. Like I don't like being argued at or added in general, but I was expecting more people to go to bat for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it is definitely something where it's a sacred cow whose shine has come off it.
Yeah, yeah. I think even people who love it approach it with clear eyes.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. Moving on to Mirror's Edge Contact. Mirror's Edge Contact. Fuck, dude. Mirror's Edge Content Responses. Cole, what does Ilium say? Viva Contact.
Ilium says via contact. I just got done with the Mirror's Edge app, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm a noted Mirror's Edge fan. No hard feelings. It's a real quarter bake of a game. It just happens to be extremely my bullshit. And thought that there were 2 fun facts about the game that you all would enjoy. 1, there's a weird reference to the fictional Slavic country that the first Battlefield Bad Company game takes place in. It is in one of the elevators. Why is it there? Is this in the Bad Company universe? Who knows? It could not possibly be any less important. Incredibly strange. 2, there's an Easter egg during the sniper sequence. When Kate's escort rounds the bend, look up and shoot the center circle in a square of 9 on a sign. Okay, the center circle of a square of 9 circles on a sign. A huge non-animated rat model about car-sized. Sorry. We'll scurry through the street. Again, why is this there? Is it a joke? I truly do not understand. Anyhow, that's all I got. Weird game. Fun, too, sorta. Wish that they delivered on the future noir promise of their storytelling themes, but oh well. Yeah.
The rat thing, I think, is probably a reference to, and I can't believe that I didn't bring this up in the episode, but did you notice how unusually huge and conspicuous the rats were in that game?
No.
Just the normal rats. Like when you're going through any indoor area, when you first get in, there'll be like a gigantic rat about the size of a basketball that will do like a scurry that made me think for sure it was secretly a butler in Code Veronica or something. Like it does, like it just like, and I was just like, what are these fucking rats? Are these collectibles? Am I supposed to hold onto a gun and shoot them or something?
Yeah.
And never really followed up on it. Like I chased one of them, but it just went into the wall.
Yeah.
And that might be what that's referencing, because the rat game in Mirror's Edge is very strange. So
yeah, I never noticed the rats. I mean, I saw them, but their size didn't stick out to me.
Yeah, rats of usual size. Yeah. Thank you, Ilium.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie says, via Bristol, England. If they're going to do it, I will go along with it. Viva Bristol, England. Yeah. Mirror's Edge is easily the best game I've bought on an impulse. It helped that it was old at the time and only cost £5. What is that?
Pounds.
Wait, is that a pound? All right, £5. I always get confused as what a quid is.
Quid is it's just like think how Americans say bucks. It's £1. Yeah.
Like quid is just a slang term for that. I thought quids were a different unit of measurement.
And they're loonies and toonies. Okay. No.
Well, see, now you're just purposely trying to confuse me.
No.
I know what a loonie is.
Yeah.
I know what a toonie is as well. From Canada, but I always got pounds and quids.
Yeah. But yeah, because my understanding is 1 quid is £1, in the way that $1 is $1.
Okay. Let us know.
And then 5 is snaps.
Snaps?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
Snaps for the petro.
Okay. It helps that it was old at the time. It was only 5 quid. I'm going to use that, the slang. because I would say bucks. The feeling you get when you nail a section is unlike anything else, making you feel like a parkour god. Of course, this is tempered by the tens of ignominious deaths when practicing the section in the first place. Once I tried playing through with the options to highlight the relevant bits of terrain turned off. It felt unnecessarily masochistic, and I persevered far longer than I should have. I also appreciate the way that guns work in the game. The fact that Faith will die in very few hits and isn't particularly adept at using them means that avoiding them is the name of the game. A real nice change of pace from most games. I haven't got a current gen system other than the Switch, but when I do, the sequel is high on my list of games to get. That whole bit about rehearsing your move before flawlessly pulling it off is something I also can't believe I forgot to mention. Yeah. Because it made me think of Arkham Knight a little bit, like how you're trying to do this like ultimately badass thing, and then you just immediately like fall and just break both your legs on the pavement. Like it's just trying to think like how do runners actually survive this thing? Like it just seems like the very first time you have to do one of these like really really difficult jumps. Yeah, there'd just be piles of corpses everywhere on the ground.
It's a huge attrition rate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you gotta train the cops to be runners.
Yep.
Yeah. It's direct action. So get the cops to die in parkour accidents.
Yeah. So something that I just has appreciated in the time since I've played it is how smoothly they start taking away the runner vision highlights over the course of the game. Yeah. I think that is incredibly well tuned.
Yeah. 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 I agree. Like that is very good. I also noticed the turning it off thing, and I also can't imagine doing that. Yeah, at least early on. Like, there's definitely like as much as I didn't love that game, again, I thought it was all right. Mm-hmm. I could never say I didn't like learn from it. Yeah, like I did get better at the game through the game's work.
Yeah. And I don't understand why you would turn it off. For me personally, I couldn't see any reason to turn it off because finding my way was nowhere near as satisfying as achieving the flow, and the runner vision helped maintain the flow. Yeah.
Challenge is, challenge.
Yep.
Would the reason why you might do it.
Yeah.
Is my guess. So
yeah, I just didn't want it. It just didn't make sense for me.
Totally.
Finally here, Lauren says, via contact, I adore Mirror's Edge. I played it when it first came out on the Xbox 360 and was immediately hooked. The sense of flow and momentum was just unlike anything that I'd ever played, and hasn't exactly been matched since, although Titanfall 2 got pretty close. There's something to just pelting along the rooftops in this beautiful city, instinctively turning toward red without being cognizant of the level design leading me. I also remember loving the music and the art style, with very little to say of the story beyond just being happy the main motivator was Faith's sister and not a love interest or whatnot. The feeling of this game actually led me to take up running for a while just to feel a little bit of that again. Spoiler, running in real life isn't as much fun. The other reason that this game is important to me is that it taught me how achievements could be impactful to play and context. I remember reading the achievement list before playing and seeing the pacifist achievement. This gave me more pause for thought on who Faith was as a character, and I decided to do the pacifist run the first time through. Mastering the movement flow to dodge under and past gunfire was exhilarating, and learning some of the more complicated combat maneuvers to knock guards flat rather than murdering them gave me a real feeling of mastery. Absolutely up there with some of the best gaming experiences I've had.
Yeah. I'm super glad that it clicked with you so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel like a dummy for not calling out that this is a game that leans on a fraternal or filial relationship. Yeah, that is something I always bemoan as just kind of not existing, and the fact that your sister is your motivation is very rare and refreshing.
It definitely is. I think no court would convict you for not calling it out, like just based on the anonymity of like the characters.
Oh,
right?
All of them, yeah.
Like that's a big problem with this. Like the relationship itself is not. There's nothing to it. Mm-hmm. It's just told to us.
Yes. That
they're sisters. It's not like we get to see them interact or see why they love each other or anything about their history really, or like like there's a bare thread there about something like, like the parents died in the protest and one of them decided to fight the system and one of them tried to change it from within. Mm-hmm. We just don't get any of that though.
Right.
In a frankly boggling choice, like that would have been easy to put in. Mm-hmm. It feels like, and instead it's just a bunch of cliches, at least that way, again, our take. on it. We're like not super impressed, but it is on its basis. It is a familial relationship, which is a good motivation.
Yes.
Agree. Thanks everybody for your responses. If you have things to say about August games, the deadline is August 15th. If you have things to say about September's games, it's September 15th.
Yeah. August games for people who need refreshers: Way of the Samurai, Final Fantasy V, and the last one is Wolfenstein: The New Order. Yeah.
And as you know, people who the last one is a premium episode, so that is for patrons.
Yes.
So you'll hear the generalities, and then the body of the episode will show up afterwards.
Yeah.
September, extremely excited about it. Let's get into it. The first game we're doing is Gunstar Heroes. That is a patron request. It is a run and gun platformer for the Sega Genesis.
Emphasis on boss fights.
Emphasis on boss fights, something that we have been talking about doing for years.
Yes.
And are finally getting an excuse to do via patron Jerry Con. Second game we're doing, kind of a spicy one. So the other games we're doing are a little bit shorter because this is so spicy, because we're going to do it one episode, probably going to be a long one, is Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
Also a patron request from Ben Sapatka. I like the Fire Emblem games. I wanted to do one for the show for a very long time.
I've only ever played the first one.
Us into it.
Yeah.
Just the first one?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a rough putt, dude.
The first one on Game Boy Advance, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that they get easier.
Cool.
And stuff. Like Fire Emblem Awakening is really great. I think that's a great game. I have played Fire Emblem Awakening is actually the only one I've beaten. I've kind of poked at all of them because I do like them.
Yeah.
I think that there is like I can get kind of lost in like keeping the Bishan and Sword Boys straight.
Yeah.
In this, like that can be difficult to me.
Yeah.
In this game, but I'm looking forward to playing Sacred Stones. I played quite a bit of it actually before it was even requested because it's an Ambassador 3DS game.
Oh dang, yeah.
So I played that when I first got my Ambassador chip for the 3DS. It's a good game.
Yeah.
So looking forward to talking about that.
When I said, I've only played the first one, I didn't dislike it. It's just that I got it on the Game Boy Advance when it came out. And I was like, oh, this is cool and good.
I just thought you meant like the Nintendo one or something.
God, no.
The first one in the series, because there's a really, really long running series, and their early ones are pretty hateful.
The first one that we officially got here in America. That's what that is what I intended.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. And then for the premium episode that month, something again we've talked about doing forever.
This is episode 250, mind you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It is Half-Life 2, which I started playing because I was horny for it. And all I could think of the whole time is that for this kind of cinematic shooter, how come no one is doing this as well?
Yep.
Like many years after the fact.
15 years.
Like
Gary.
15 years. It is so fucking well paced. It is a really, really good game. I just finished Ravenholm, which is like one of the best levels of all time.
Yep.
I am super excited to talk about Half-Life 2.
Yeah. So just the main game, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, if I'm feeling up for it, and just because I want to, I might do the DLCs and could like type 5 them, but we're not going to cover the DLCs in detail.
Right. Just
the game itself is long enough and important enough, and there's enough to talk about.
Correct.
So, Gravity Gun, baby.
Ooh, yeah.
That's fun.
So super excited. Again, the deadline for responses on those is the 15th of September. It is always the 15th.
Yeah.
At duckfeed.tv/contact. If you could possibly separate your responses by game, don't get them all mixed up together, because that makes it easier for us to include them in the way that we do.
We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you enjoy this show, please leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate it. If you really enjoy the show and you want to support us and you want to hear all those bonus episodes and like frankly an irresponsible amount of stuff, go to patreon.com/duckfeed.tv.
Yes.
And kick us $5, just gets you a billion things.
Yes.
Slack, those premium episodes, all of them that have ever existed, so not just this month's. Every episode of Bonfireside Chat Rekindled, every episode of Unfilmable, and bonus episodes of Abject Suffering. You just get a lot.
Yeah.
And most importantly, and most germane, come to Duckfest.
Please do.
Yeah.
August the 31st. Tickets are $15. No convenience fee or anything like that. Go to duckfeed.tv/Duckfest, August 31st, Portland, Oregon, at the historic Clinton Street Theater, beginning at 9:30, a full day of podcasts.
Yeah. 6 shows from us. different shows, and probably some like, little bits and bobs and the like. And then 2 local podcasts are also going to perform. Pitch Please, which is a friend of the show, Carolyn Main, who joined us on Abject Suffering for Rockin' Cats, who is a local comic and is hilarious and great. She'll be doing that show with some Duckfeed people. That is a game of improvising movie pitches. And then Spec Script, which is a local podcast where the concept is people write a script for a TV show they've never seen. They're going to be doing an episode on Duck Dynasty, appropriately enough. And I've just found out my friend Allison is writing it, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, wow.
And I just last Sunday did my first reading for them. They do their podcast live once a month is how they record it. And I did a reading for their episode on Rick and Morty. And I was very nervous about it because I'm not an actor, so I thought I was going to do a bad job. And I was like, well, they're probably going to give me a really small part. And I had a very big part, which was the villain, whose name is Johnny Reddit, who loves Rick and Morty and is stealing a time machine to go back in time and suck Nikola Tesla's dick. So it's hilarious. It's a very, very funny show.
Yeah.
That episode, I will promote the hell out of it when it comes out.
Yeah.
So please come in. You're going to want to see that. Also, Portland is beautiful. Our summers tend to be mild. It's temperatures creeping up a little bit, so I can't make any guarantees about the weather. I'm sorry, but temperatures tend to be mild, and it's going to be a really fun time to be in the city.
Yes.
And finally, last thing I want to bring up, I recently guested on an episode of The Short Game, friends of the show, Reagan Kelly. I talked about Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh, yeah.
So if people are wondering like, oh, Gary played that, but how come he's not podcasting about it? Because he turns all of his life into content. I did podcast about it, sucker. And I did it on The Short Game, and it was a really fun episode.
Nice.
So check them out. They just launched a Patreon as well. Support those guys.
Please do.
Yeah. Do we have anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Well, thanks, everybody. And we'll see you in a week for Way of the Samurai.
Yeah. Take care and Umbasa.
Umbasa.